Good morning. My name is Lou. Some of you may know me. I'm briefly taking over from Alex because unfortunately they are not very well and just need a little bit of help at the moment. Hopefully they will be better very, very soon. And I'm going to continue on with the reading, and so you may see me for 1 or 2 days. All right, thank you. We're continuing the reading today from Luke chapter 21. He looked up and saw rich people putting their gifts into the treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 small copper coins. He said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all of them, for all of them have contributed out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in all she has to live on." When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, he said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be, and what will be the sign that all this is about to take?" And he said, "Beware that you are not led astray. For many will come in my name and say, 'I am he, the time is near.' Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and various places famines and plagues, and there will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you, and will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds to not prepare your defense in advance, for I will give you words and a wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death, and you will be hated by all because of my name. But not a hair on your head will perish. By your endurance you will gain your souls. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation has come near. Then those in Judea must flee to the mountains, and those inside the city must leave it, and those out in the country must not enter it, for these are days of vengeance, and of fulfillment of all that is written. Woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing infants in those days, for there will be great distress on the earth and wrath against this people. They will fall by the edge of a sword and be taken away as captives among all the nations, and Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles are fulfilled. There will be signs in the sun and moon and the stars, and on the earth distress amongst nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, and what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to take place, stand up and raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." Then he told them a parable. "Look at the fig tree and all the leaves. As soon as they sprout leaves, you can see for yourself and know that summer is already near. So when you see these things taking place, you will know that the kingdom of God is near. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Be on guard, so that your hearts are not weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of this life, and that day does not catch you unexpectedly, like a trap. For it will come upon all who live on the face of the whole earth. Be alert at all times, praying that you may have the strength to escape all these things that will take place, and to stand before the Son of Man. Every day he was teaching in the temple, and at night he would go out and spend the night on the Mount of Olives, as it was called. And then all the people would get up early in the morning to listen to him in the temple. The next reading is from Genesis chapter 38. It happened at that time that Judah went down from his brothers and settled near a certain Adullamite, whose name was Hira. There Judah saw his daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. He married her and went in to her. She conceived and bore his son, and he named him Again she conceived and bore a son, whom she named Onan. Yet again she bore a son, and she named him Shelah. She was in Chezib when she bore him. Judah took a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, Go in to your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her. Raise up the offspring for your brother. But since Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, he spilled his semen on the ground whenever he went in to his brother's wife, so he would not give offspring to his brother. What he did was displeasing in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, Remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up, for he feared that he too would die like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's house. In the course of time, the wife of Judah, Shua's daughter, died. When Judah's time of mourning was over, he went up to Timnah to sheep shearers, and he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. When Tamar was told, Your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep, she put off her widow's garments, put on a veil, wrapped herself up, and sat down at the entrance to Eanim, which is on the road to Timnah. She saw that Shelah was grown up. She had not yet been given to him in marriage. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a prostitute, for she had covered her face. He went over to her at the roadside and said, Come, let me come in to you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. She said, What will you give me, that you may come in to me? He answered, I will give you a kid from the flock. And she said, Only if you give me a pledge, and until you send it. He said, What pledge shall I give you? She replied, Your signet, and your cord, and the staff that is in your hand. So he gave them to her, and went in to her, and she conceived by him. Then she got up and went away. Taking off her veil, she put on the garments of her widowhood. When Judah sent the kid by his friend Adullamite to recover the pledge from the woman, he could not find her. He asked the townspeople, Where is the temple prostitute who was at Eanim, by the wayside? But they said, No prostitute has been here. So he returned to Judah and said, I have not found her. Moreover, the townspeople said, No prostitute has been here. Judah replied, Let her keep the things as her own, otherwise we will be laughed at. You see, I was sent this kid, and you could not find her. About 3 months later, Judah was told, Your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the whore. Moreover, she is pregnant, as a result of her whoredom. And Judah said, "Bring her out and let her be burned." As she was being brought out, she sent word to her father-in-law, "It was the owner of these things who made me pregnant." And she said, "Take note, please, whose these are, the signet and the cord and the staff." Then Judah acknowledged them and said, "She is more in the right than I, since I did not give her to my son Shelah, and he did not lie with her again." When the time of her delivery came, there were twins in her womb. While she was in labor, one put out a hand, and the midwife took it and bound it on his hand with a crimson thread, saying, "This one came out first." But just then he drew back his hand, and came out his brother, and she said, "What a breach you have made for yourself." Therefore he was named Perez. Afterwards his brother came out with crimson thread on his hand, and he was named Zerah. Our next reading is from Psalm 29. Ascribe to the Lord, O heavenly beings. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory of his name. Worship the Lord in holy splendor. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. The Lord over mighty waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaks the cedars. The Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon. He makes the Lebanon skip like a calf, and Syrian like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord flashes forth flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shakes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord causes the oaks to whirl and strips the forest bare. And in his temple all say, "Glory." The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord sits enthroned as King forever. May the Lord give strength to his people. May the Lord bless his people with peace. Thank you, everyone. That's today's reading.